Hi, this video is on calculating the area and perimeter of a square using C++ object-oriented programming. So let's jump right into it. First thing we're going to need is to include the libraries. So let's do pound include iostream. Then we're going to include iomanip. Then we're going to include the library for doing math, so cmath. And I think that's basically it. So now after we do that, we need to use the using namespace std semicolon. I'll just tell you what these all do. So iostream, this is just the library for input output commands. Input slash output commands. iomanip, and this is the library for alignment commands. Oops. And then we have cmath, and this is the library for math commands. Okay, so I'm using namespace std. This just places std ... in front of all common commands. Okay, so now we need to add a header file since this is an object-oriented. So go to add, new item, select header file. I'm just going to call this C square. And click add. Once you're here, now we need to declare this as a class. So we're going to say class and then C square. Open parentheses, closing not parentheses, twisty, and then semicolon. The semicolon is very important. You got to have that. Next, we're going to call this public, colon, then private, colon. Then we're going to indent. And move it down 1, 2. Okay, so now we're ready to create the default constructor. So the default constructor will be C square, open parentheses, closing parentheses, open twisty, closing twisties, and that's it. This is the default constructor. Okay, next we're going to create, okay, so a square. Since the square, it only has one private member variable, so we're going to just call this side. So we're going to say double, and that's going to be side. Okay, so that is our private member variable. Now, after we've created the, well, first we created the default constructor. After that, we created the private member variables. Now we're going to create the full constructor. Now you're either going to create a full or a partial, depending on how many private member variables you have. If you have one, you're going to create the full constructor. If you have more than one, then you create the partial until you have made enough for all of the variables. So let's go ahead and say C square, open paren, then we're going to call this double A, close paren. Oops. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna assign A to side. So side is equal to A semicolon, and now closing twisty. So this right here is your full constructor. Okay, so we got that down. Now after that we're going to create the mutator. So this is your mutator. Mutator. There is only one. Why is there only one? Because the mutator just goes and changes the value of side, or you assign a value to it. But since you only have that, you only have one mutator. So let's create the mutator. For this, we're going to say void set side open paren closing paren open twisty closing twisty. Now here we're going to say side is equal to a semicolon, and here we're going to say double a. Okay, and that's your mutator. And now we're going to create your accessor. So mutators are also known as setter functions. You might hear the mutator referred to as the setter function. So it just depends what kind of book you got. So the accessor is also known as the getter function. All depends on your book. So now we're going to say double, and then we're going to say get side open paren closing paren. Then it's open twisty closing twisty, and then we're going to say return side semicolon, and that's that. So and that's your accessor function. So now we're going to create the facilitators. So facilitators. So these are going to be for the area and perimeter. Okay, so let's see. Let's work first with the perimeter because it's the simplest. So we're going to say double perimeter, open parentheses, closing parentheses, open twisty, closing twisty, return. Now we're going to say return. Now, what is the function for perimeter? So perimeter is just, well, it's just the width plus the other width plus the length plus the other length. But in this case, it's a square, right? So all we really need to do is say 4 times the side. So 4 times the side, and that'll give us a perimeter. Next, after we do the perimeter, we want to make a facilitator for the area. So we're going to say double area, open parentheses, closing parentheses, open twisty, closing twisty. Now we're going to do it for the area. So the area, we're going to write return, and the area is just the side squared. So we're going to do side multiplied by the side, semicolon. And that is both of the facilitators. One's for perimeter, one's for area. So now all we have to do is just test this out. So actually, no. After we wrote our last facilitator, let's go back into the main, into the int main, and in here, well, actually no, right here, we're going to include. We're going to say pound include, and this is going to be our header file. So we're going to do c square. We're going to use parentheses because this is local to our project. So now that's here. Now this is including. It's making it so all of this is included into our main project. So now after we've done that, let's go ahead and create an instance of our object. So we're going to say c square, and we're just going to call it something simple like square, semicolon. Okay, let's do c out the side length of my square is, Let's go down here. Now we're going to do square dot get side. Paren, closing paren. Make it a little bit neater. We're just going to put this out here, C out. I'm going to do \n several times. And the only reason I'm doing that is just to move the press any button further away from my text. Okay. I might need that here too. \n T. Okay, let's go ahead and compile this. All I want to know, let's run this, see what it looks like. Control F5. Oh, and we have something funky here. Guess why we got this? Because we didn't enter in a value for the square. So let's go ahead and enter that value for the square. Square dot set the side. We're going to set the side to, let's say, 5.0. Semicolon. So now we're going to set the side of the square to 5. And let's compile this again. Okay, now we get the side length of my square is 5. And that's exactly what we wanted. But now we want to know, well, what is the area? So, oh, actually, no, first let's do the perimeter. The perimeter of my square is... Now let's get the perimeter, so we're going to type in square again. Square dot... Oops. Get on, what's going on? Oh, don't want that there. Now let's get the perimeter. So there's a perimeter. Open paren, closing paren. Now let's see if it'll give us the perimeter. So let's run the program. Uh-oh, look at this. So sloppy. The side length of my square is 5. The perimeter of my square is... Oh, that's not going to do. Let's make this neater. \n, \n, \t. That will move it down 2 spots in 8. So let's run this again. Control F5. Oops. So it's 20, but look, I got this giant space here. Let's bring that back. Alright, that's better. Now let's see. So now we've got this the side of the square, we have the perimeter of the square, and now we want to get the area of the square. So now let's say \n, \t. The area of my square is square dot square, and then we're going to do the area. Okay, so that should give us the area. So let's run the program. Okay, so look at how these are aligned. I don't like how they're aligned. So we're going to fix this. So these all are right justified and they all line up neatly. And we'll make them have 3 decimal places. So let's go ahead and do that. First thing is after here, we're going to type, well actually first right here after C square I'm going to type C out. We're going to type C out set precision. So precision up to 3 decimal places. That has to be a whole number. And then we're going to make it fixed so it doesn't change. Now we're going to set the column width. Set width. Let's make the column width 12 units. So that one's set. Now I'm just going to go ahead and copy this right here. And I'm going to add it to the rest of them. Okay, so now let's run this again and see what it looks like. This creates an instance of your object. This will set the precision to 3 decimal places fixed. This is inputting the value for the side. This is just some text saying the side length of my square is, and then we're setting the column width to 12, and we're saying square dot get side. So this is going to go and get the value of side and input it after this text here in the column width of 12. Then it's basically the same thing over again. It's just now you're doing it with the perimeter and then the area. So let's run this once and see if it goes okay. So yeah, so I said that the side length was 5, so the perimeter should be 20, because 5 times 4 is 20. And then the area is just 5 times 5, which is 25. So that is how you would make an object in a header file to solve for the perimeter and area of a square when you're given when you're inputting the side. So anyhow, I hope this helped, hope it made sense. The next video I'm making is going to be on I think the next one will be on a circle. So alright, see you guys later.